Hi everyone, welcome to my review of Carry On Up the Khyber from 1968, directed by Gerald, and of course the 16th film in the Carry On series. So yes, we are back once again ready to discuss Carry On. This time around, a very iconic one, Carry On Up the Khyber. So yes, there won't be a spoiler warning for this discussion. I won't be getting into the plot too much, so you can rest easy. If you've not seen this film, I won't be giving spoilers to you. So yes, all that said, let's dig into my thoughts on this film, and yes, I saw this again, recently, a few days ago now, and I saw this for the first time last year, and I wanted to give this a rewatch again, like I'm doing with a few of the carry-ons, in recent weeks, and to go through this, and to get my thoughts again, on this film. So yes, this film covers, of course, the kind of British rule in India, 1890s, and different films, that are about this. It's kind of spoofing them. So that's the kind of main gist of the film, what it's covering, and obviously the usual carry-on caper as well. We've got a few of the regulars in this film. The return of Terry Scott as well. He was first in Carry On Sergeant, and he wasn't in any of them until this film. Then he was in a few of them, of course, including Camping, in a massive role for him in the series. And we have Bernard Bresslaw, we have Peter Butterworth, Kenneth Williams, Sid James, Joan Sims. Some of the regulars here, really very good in this film, and I really enjoyed their roles. But yes, this is a very interesting film, very iconic, often considered by a lot to be, I would say, it seems to be one of the most popular, probably top 5, at least top 10 popular carry-on films really out there, and it's a very liked carry-on film, in the grand scheme of things. I think it's a very interesting film. It's not personally, one of my absolute favourites. I will say that now. But I do really enjoy, aspects of this film, and overall, it's a nice film to watch. It's definitely a solid film, in the Carry On series, and I really enjoy certain elements of this film, particularly just seeing Sid James, Joan Sims, and Kenneth Williams. Their roles in particular are really, really good as well. Peter Butterworth actually is one of the standouts, in this film. He's given a bit more of a role in this one compared to some of the Carry On films that he's in, and I just think he was a standout, always quite hilarious in the film. And we do also have, that famous, in the final act, dinner sequence. I think it's interesting because some of the Carry On films, we could say, including this one, are kind of more well-known, more iconic, and, kind of talked about for particular sequences, and in the case of this film, you could say it's the final dinner table sequence there, that it's more well known for, talked about for. I do love the sequence. This is probably my favourite, in the film. It's just great use of slapstick. Obviously, characters, most of them are kind of just trying to carry on, kind of finish their dinner when all this is going on. The explosions, of course, and Peter Butterworth, his character is the only one at first, who is kind of being. He can't, keep this up, and he's wondering why this is happening. Why everyone's ignoring this, and he's just, he's reacting to it, and everyone else is not reacting to it. And they're just, eating, their food and stuff. Hilarious sequence. It does go on for quite a bit, and despite that, it really is very, very funny, and just a great use of slapstick. And different, techniques there that I really enjoyed. I think the practical effects as well in a lot of this film is very good, considering, all the Carry On films really are very low budget. And I just love, at times, some of the sets in this, and, I think the practical effects as well are really, really good. Nice use of locations at times. Some of this is, North Wales, and just it's very nice to see a good use of location when they're on location, and just seeing the regulars, it's very nice. I think that final sequence is definitely the standout for me. But I do think there's definitely some flaws throughout the film, or parts, flat moments, stretches of the film that I'm not really as big on. I think it starts out very interestingly. We have introduction of Kenneth Williams' character, Joan Sims, Sid James. Really interesting to set that dynamic up. Really like the introduction of the characters here, but then I kind of was reminded of going forward where we get into the middle portion of the film. There's quite a few stretches of the film that just aren't quite as funny as I would have expected, and it's something about the film that is a little bit flat in the middle, and just kind of goes on. There's a few stretches where it's not really too funny. I think overall the film, other than one or two sequences, and not kind of laugh out loud, or quite you know, kind of higher up in the Carry On, you know, standards really. It's just, I think it's a very consistent script, you know, and it's very interesting ideas, and, you know, it's an effective parody overall, but it does lack consistency in just the gags. You know, I think one or two of the gags don't really work for me actually as well. You know, kind of, you know, around the Khyber Pass, that sort of point in the film, just a couple of moments there that aren't too funny at all, and you know, I think it's you know, a funny film overall. Obviously, we do have Charles Hawtrey, you know, kind of once again in this film. Obviously, really nice to see him. Some of the regulars aren't in this film, but you know, a lot of the main ones are here, and you know, Kenneth Williams once again, Sid James, always, you know, bring their A game, and Joan Sims is always a highlight, and yeah, as I say, Peter Butterworth is one of my favourites in this film as well. Wasn't huge on the you know, Bernard Bresslaw character. You know, it just was a bit too much. You know, at times a bit too loud, and it did overtake the film at times, and it wasn't quite, you know, the particular comedy that the rest of the characters were kind of on board with in certain sequences. So I think it kind of detracted from the flow at times, and the actual, you know, consistency of the comedy as well. But then, yeah, the final act, you know, particularly is strong, and you know, you know, dinner table sequences. You know, for me, it is the, you know, standout of the film. You know, I think the way the film's shot, you know, is mostly quite good. There are a couple of scenes that could have been a bit, you know, brighter, more colourful. Slightly dull there, you know, and at times perhaps the lighting is a bit too much in places. You know, things look a bit strange, a bit too yellow for me. But you know, overall, it's you know, it's well shot, competently edited. I think the flow, you know, it's definitely has its flaws. The flow of the film, you know, as I say, the middle portion is when it kind of grinds to a halt. You could say at times, and overall, though, just like, you know, the Carry On films, it is very short. You know, 85 minutes or so, and so yeah, it doesn't, you know, kind of overstay its welcome in that sense. But you know, I do think, you know, the middle portion of the film in particular, you know, could have been funnier, and it does, you know, have some issues with its flow, and just the general way in which the gags, you know, are kind of put together at times. So Carrying On Up the Khyber, definitely a very, at times, well-made film. You know, I think the sets, as I've said, you know, the use of location, the costumes as well, and I think some of the script, you know, it's definitely good use of recurring gags, you know, throughout the film at times, but I think it just lacks something. It does lack something, you know, that really, you know, a certain charm that some of the better or best Carry On films have, to be included higher, you know, in the ranking. And I think it could have been funnier in places. It's a, you know, competently made film, you know, consistent script for the most part. As I say, it's, you know, it's practically very good at times, but it does lack, you know, the actual laughs, and you know, for me, it's just not one of the funniest Carry On films, you know, and certainly not one of my personal favourites in this series, although I do put it, you know, fairly highly. It's just not, you know, one of the absolute best personally for me. So yes, for me, overall, my final rating for this film is a 68%. So still a high score from me. You know, definitely a solid score. I think it's better than, you know, quite a few of the Carry-Ons, of course, and I think it is very impressive in places. My favourite sequence is definitely the dinner table sequence. You know, that was pretty hilarious, and I think Peter Butterworth in particular there, you know, makes that scene, and you know, just really everything working, you know, so well there. All the different, you know, cast members, you know, Sid James especially as well, and Joan Sims. Just everyone kind of giving their own sort of, you know, thing to that scene, and then you've got Peter Butterworth, you know, doing his thing, and it just works so well. And you know, once again, great use of practical effects, you know, as well in that kind of sequence, and the editing is just very good, you know, in that final act in places. So yes, some things that work for me, some things that don't work, and just overall, it's not a film that you know, is, you know, absolutely hilarious for me throughout, although there's a couple of sequences that are. I think it is just more of a film based around those sequences that really make it stand out, and watching it, you know, in its entire, you know, runtime, I think there are definitely some stretches, as I've said, you know, that are flatter, and you know, not as engaging personally for me, and just nowhere near as funny as they could have been, you know, I find personally. But yes, Carrying Up the Khyber, definitely an enjoyable film, one that I do like quite a bit, and it's just, you know, I think, you know, certainly standout cast members: Sid James, Kenneth Williams, Joan Sims, and Peter Butterworth. You know, they're all really, really funny in the film, and yeah, it's definitely a film that I do enjoy. personally. So yes, that's my thoughts. What do you think on this film? I'd be very interested to hear your thoughts on Carrying Up the Khyber, a very iconic film in the series, and yeah, I do enjoy this one for sure. You know, it's definitely, well, not one of my, as I've said, personal favourites. It's definitely one that's, you know, fairly high in the ranking for me, and it's one that I do enjoy and appreciate as well. So yes, it'd be great to hear your thoughts in the comments. All things Carry On. We'll definitely be going through more of the Carry On films very soon on the channel. Obviously, consistently, you know, kind of going through these and reviewing them, and you know, over the next couple of months, that should be wrapped up. And of course, look forward to the ranking as well. Once again, a heads up for that. A ranking of the entire series, 30 films, missing out That's Carry On, but you know, the proper, you know, films in this series we'll be going through in that video, so I look forward to that, and yeah, I look forward to more reviews of the Carry On series on the channel. So yes, as always, take care and thanks for watching.